And here's the part most investors are completely missing. Silver isn't just money anymore. It's becoming a strategic weapon. And once I show you why both the US and China are scrambling for it, the price action you're seeing right now will suddenly make perfect sense. So things are going completely parabolic with gold and silver right now. Let's raise an imaginary wine glass and give each other a toast. A toast to everyone watching this, because what we are witnessing is historic. This is a very clear signal that the dollar is being debased like never before. And I want to make something absolutely clear. Every time gold and silver rise in price, it does not mean the metals themselves suddenly became more valuable. What it means is that currencies, especially the US dollar, are losing purchasing power at an accelerating pace. What we are witnessing right now is what I call the Great Repricing. This is the phase where the real value of things is finally being revealed. And today, I want us to focus on one specific angle of this moment, the commodity war. This is where countries, central banks, and large investors are all scrambling at the same time to protect themselves. And once again, precious metals are becoming the focal point. Now let's talk about the US GDP numbers. On the surface, they look impressive. GDP supposedly rose by 4.3% in Q4. But ladies and gentlemen, do not get bamboozled by that headline number. This is not real economic growth. The books have not been balanced for a very, very long time. This so-called growth is not being driven by real productivity or organic economic activity. Many of you already know the answer, but if you're new here, this will blow your mind. The U.S. economy today is surviving on the charity of global creditors. Deficit spending alone now accounts for roughly $1.88 trillion, which is close to 6% of total U.S. spending. That means without borrowed money, the U.S. economy would fall into an immediate recession, instantly. And this is the foundation of why gold and silver are exploding higher. Investors understand that deficit spending cannot go down. It mathematically cannot. It must rise, both in nominal terms and as a percentage of the economy. The U.S. may be borrowing $1.8 trillion today, but that number has to increase. By the end of Donald Trump's term, the deficit numbers will look horrendous. Trump is juggling too many plates at once, and now those plates are starting to crash to the floor. Even the Federal Reserve is quietly relaunching quantitative easing. They are already buying roughly $40 billion in Treasury bills every single month. The tsunami of liquidity is building. There is simply no way for Trump to rebuild supply chains, fight an AI arms race with China, and reshore semiconductor manufacturing without massive spending. Borrowing is not stopping, not even close. As a result, gold and silver are launching into the stratosphere. Gold is now on the brink of smashing $4,500 per ounce, which would mark a new all-time record for physical bullion. Add geopolitics to the mix, including Trump's intimidation of Venezuela, and global risk is back on the menu. We are living in an era of near-constant conflict, almost one new geopolitical flashpoint every single year. Gold has rallied roughly 70% this year alone. That's more than 3 times the performance of the S&P 500. That alone tells you everything you need to know. Investors no longer believe in U.S. financial assets because the underlying economy is not genuinely growing. Merry Christmas, my friends. This is exactly what we've been talking about for the past 2 years. We knew the dollar was doomed. Today's price action is pure vindication. Gold and silver are simply playing catch-up. Washington cannot stop spending money. We have already crossed the inflection point where the Federal Reserve has resumed money creation. And when you engage in QE, you are creating money from nothing, digits that simply appear out of thin air. Even Scott Bessent understands the dangers of QE. As he explained, when the Fed buys long-duration safe assets, it injects liquidity into the system, forcing investors to chase risk. Ben Bernanke famously admitted the purpose of QE was to push people into equities. We are now officially in the danger zone, the twilight zone. And here's the key point. The real buying of gold hasn't even started yet. Right now, it's mostly central banks and Asian investors, particularly in China. Once Western investors wake up to reality, it's game over. Even more dollars will be dumped, even more capital will flood into precious metals. Now, nothing moves in a straight line. We could see a correction next month or even next week, but the numbers are unsustainable. This is getting ridiculous. According to the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, interest costs on the debt alone could exceed $2.2 trillion by 2035, and that estimate is conservative. We are already near $1.2 trillion today. Within a decade, interest costs will easily exceed $2.5 trillion. More than half of all new borrowing will soon be used just to pay interest. This shell game cannot continue. The big players see this, and they are reallocating aggressively into gold, and especially silver. The U.S. government now has only one option: suppress interest rates, and that is extremely bullish for precious metals. Borrowing will shift even more toward short-term treasury bills. Refinancing will happen every few months instead of years. That is effectively cash injection by another name. Now, quick shout-out to today's sponsor, Indigo Precious Metals. When it comes to buying gold and silver, this is who I trust. They make precious metals investing safe, fast, and simple, whether you're buying 1 ounce or 1 kilo. Authentic bullion, low premiums, tested on the spot. If you're starting your stacking journey, they are the real deal. Looking ahead to 2026, we will see a desperate Trump openly pressuring the Fed to cut rates, public demands, national television. There is only one page left in this playbook. People will say, but isn't the Federal Reserve independent? If you believe that, I have a bridge to sell you, and maybe Santa's sleigh as well. Trump has already made it clear he wants a loyalist at the Fed, a yes man, someone willing to cut rates regardless of inflation. This is voodoo economics, and it confirms one thing: a melt-up in gold and silver is coming. Trump is willing to sacrifice the dollar to keep the illusion alive. Now let's talk about silver, because this is where it gets really interesting. Silver is both a monetary metal and an industrial necessity, and we are in a global supply chain war. Silver has surged past $70 an ounce, touching nearly $72 at the peak, a gain of roughly 140%. That's double gold's performance and 8 times the S&P 500. Yes, silver is volatile. A pullback to $60 is absolutely possible, but the long-term case has never been stronger. Silver is now a strategic resource. The U.S. government has officially designated silver a critical mineral. They import more silver than they mine. The power grid is falling apart. Solar panels require silver. EVs, batteries, and semiconductors require silver. China knows this. They are stockpiling aggressively. Shanghai allows physical delivery, and people are rushing to take it. Even G7 nations are sourcing silver from China. Supply is constrained. Mine output is declining. In 2025, supply will be about 1.03 billion ounces, while demand will exceed 1.15 billion ounces. That's an 11% deficit, and it's growing. Building new mines takes 10 to 20 years. Costs are exploding. Tariffs, labor, steel, copper, everything is more expensive. The U.S. will remain dependent on imports. China, meanwhile, already controls the trump card. They have restricted rare earth exports before. They can do the same with silver. New export controls are already scheduled from 2026 onward. So, brace for impact. The punch is being telegraphed. And with that, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. We made it through another year. And remember, when you wish upon a star, $5,000 gold isn't that far. Merry Christmas, everyone. I'll see you on the 26th. And yes, $5,000 gold is coming.